Before we start the panel, I'm going to introduce myself real quickly and go over the agenda for tonight, and then we'll introduce our amazing speakers. So as Luke said, I'm the CEO of Loot. The necklace you're wearing around your neck is called the Loot badge. It will automatically monitor all the places throughout the building you go. So tonight, afterwards, you'll receive a post-event report with more information about our great band Cambria, our amazing speakers, and Solar Public's new products. As for the Wearable Technology Startup Meetup, we worked with Solar Public to put on a great event. We have a great lineup for you tonight, so I hope you enjoy. Tonight we'll showcase how design and fashion can come together to create a beautiful product for the end consumer. I'd like to give you a few quick facts before we dive in, because this is a huge topic. And a lot of people don't talk about design and technology together, which is very unique. The global fashion industry is $1.2 trillion. It's big and it's growing every single year. US consumers spend $250 billion a year on fashion each year, which is a huge opportunity for wearable technology. And wearables in 2014 were $5 billion. And guess this, by 2018, $12.5 billion, which compared to fashion isn't big, but together they can dominate and take over. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my first speaker, Monisha. It would be great if you kind of say a few words about Lumo and your interests.
All right. Can I talk here? Okay, good. It'll work. Hi, I'm Monisha Prakash, co-founder and CEO of Lumo Body Tech. We are the makers of posture and activity trackers. So Lumo Lift is our most recent product. I'm wearing one now. It just looks like a little stylish pin or brooch, lapel pin. We offer a variety of designs. How it works is when you slouch, the sensor vibrates to remind you to straighten up. And it also doubles as an activity tracker. And how we came to this design is quite interesting in that our first product was Lumo Back, which is a belt. It's a belt that you wear around your waist. And we designed it with people who have back pain in mind. And we learned a lot about design. We learned that this is a very difficult form factor for a lot of people to wear. We also learned that a lot of people who wanted to improve their posture were more concerned with their shoulders and this, with their shoulders and the sensor, which for Lumo Back, which sits on the waist, wasn't as good at picking up shoulder. And so that's how we came up with the Lumo Lift. We also learned that fashion really matters, right? We learned that when you ask people to put things on their bodies, it's got to feel personalized, it's got to feel pretty and inviting, it's got to be easy to put on, and it's got to be personalized to suit a variety of fashion tastes. And so that's how we evolved from a belt form factor to a more jewelry-like form factor. Both products do very similar things. They both give you feedback on posture and activity tracking, but they do it in very different ways.
Hello, my name is Krista Neidlinger, and I'm the founder of Sensory Therapeutic Biomedia. And we're a hybrid between biosensors and fashion. So we're in between healthcare, gaming, fashion, and biosensors. So we endeavor to make a fun product that's emotionally durable, something you want to wear, with the electronics hidden inside. And you'll see a little fashion show later. Excited? Okay.
Hello. My name is Elena. I'm the founder of Imwaki. I don't do anything, I don't incorporate any technology into my fashion yet because I haven't found anything that I would want to. I have a futuristic clothing brand that focuses on silhouettes and you know, exploring futuristic concepts. And I hope to work with a wearable technology company in the future, and that's why I'm here. Ha.
Hey guys, I'm Greg McNamara. I'm head of design for here at Solar Republic, and Loic did not mention it, but welcome to our home. This is the big debut for our new space. We moved in March, sorry, October, and it's now March, so I've been here about 5 months. So welcome. So yeah, Solar Republic, interesting company. That's why you're all here, right? We started about 3.5 years ago, and our perspective is a little bit different than other audio companies. When we start a project here at Sol, we start really from the ground up, and so we get a chance to question, what a speaker should be, or what the future of personal audio and headphones really can and should be. We don't have the burden of lots of legacy products, so we're a very agile company. But tonight we really wanted to do this event in partnership with Brian. Because we really think it's time for, to elevate the conversation. So we hope you all will join us, and we're really excited to be here. Thanks.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim. I'm from Misfit. Thanks for inviting me over here. We make activity monitors and smart home products for people. Our first product is the Shine. Right there, it's a little activity monitor. Excellent. I see one there. Anyone else? Anyone else over there? Okay. So Shine was our first product. It's an all-aluminum tracker. It's waterproof, doesn't require charging, you can wear it anywhere. We wanted to make sensing and tracking of your activity extremely easy, which means you never have to really think about it. That's what we want to do with Shine. We have a bunch of subsequent products, including Flash, which was a much more affordable version of Shine, as well as most recently we announced a partnership, if I can get it on my shirt here. Not the most auspicious demo, but we have a version with a Swarovski crystal on it, in partnership with Swarovski. This is one version of it. It comes with a variety of different kinds of accessories. And we have a second version that's in a violet color that actually harvests energy from the sun and other kinds of lighting, so you never have to charge it ever. So, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. All right, so let's make this fun. Tonight we're going to start with the topic culture, okay? These are two clashing cultures, technology and fashion. But at the ground level, I think they really should come together. And I think there's a lot of similarities between fashion and tech that bond and tie one another together. So for the first question, from Nisha, what are your favorite collaborations between fashion and technology currently in the landscape?
Wow, that is putting me on the spot. Favorite collaboration between fashion and technology. Well, I mean, I think looking at Apple Watch and what they're coming out with, it's beautiful. I can't wait to get mine. I think absolutely the two worlds do need to come together. We also recently launched a version with Swarovski crystals, and just those initial conversations that we were having with our jewelry partner, it was almost as if we were speaking two different languages. Same thing in our PR approach, right? Like we've had PR folks who are really good at tech press, and we've had PR folks who are really good at lifestyle and beauty. And there was a lot of education that had to happen in both directions, just in terms of how the tech world thinks and how the lifestyle and beauty world think. So I think you're right. There is a gap, and I think we need to close that gap where technology and fashion meet.
I love Hussein Chalayan. In 2007, he made Transformer dresses. Oops, I stole hers. Good thing I'm sitting here. But he was a real pioneer in incorporating technology into fashion with the body. He was really inspirational for me, and I'm really inspired to make your body actually move the Transformer. So that's my initial inspiration. But yeah, there is a dialogue problem between industries, like fashion vocabulary and technology vocabulary. So.
Totally stole mine. I don't know if anyone's seen Hussein Chalayan's transformative dresses, but they're amazing. They, the zipper undoes itself. there's a lot of transformative parts to them where, you know, I haven't seen anything like that anywhere. Wearable technology is stuck in the accessory phase right now, in my opinion. And I think to get into the clothing phase, I think people have to work more on nanotechnology and incorporating it into the fibers of the fabric instead. Because fashion right now is very superficial, and the tech world is, you know, another kind of, like, they're not superficial, but they're like real. So to mesh those two together is going to be very hard, and I don't feel like it's going to happen in the next 5 years. It might in 10 or 20, but I think that in order for it to really work, you really have to explore very futuristic kind of thinking and not just, oh, what can I put in an accessory?
Let's see. So let's start with collaborations first. I think probably the best collaboration is not a collaboration at all, but what Nike did with the Fuel Band. You've got a company that's acting very much as a athletic apparel juggernaut with a fashion sort of angle, but then that decides to create a sort of spin-off group within their own, you know, team and develop this amazing product. And so you have this internal collaboration, which is what was really necessary and what kind of drove, I think, an incredible adoption out of the gate. That kind of integration is really tricky outside of, you know, especially when you have two cultures clashing. But I think Nike did a very good job with that. As far as, you know, the fashion tech question, Brian, the question is to what end? So it was kind of a foregone conclusion, I think, when sensors got small enough, when this technology got to the point where it was wearable, just functionally, then it's kind of natural to look over the other side, at the other side of the aisle and go, well, can you help us make this something that people actually or will adopt? There we go. But now it's a question of, you know, what is the continued dialogue? Like, where does it go from here? Is it still just two, you know, vastly different ecosystems, just leveraging each other's resources and doing sort of collaborations, or can it become more meaningful? You know, now it's a little bit like we're slapping brands on things. You know, with sort of the Intel opening ceremony things, there's some interesting things happening there, some incredible, you know, opportunities in that space. The question is whether people are leveraging it enough, and whether it feels natural.
I kind of echo the same thoughts, and I'll put it more bluntly. There is not a good collaboration between fashion and technology. I'll just say it right now. The best examples that I can think of are kind of disparate fields, like snowboarding and what Burton does, where every year they come out with a new set of clothing and boards with new graphics and new styles with a ton of technology in it. And this isn't your standard kind of idea of where you stick technology into something fashionable. There's a ton of very simple collaborations on, you know, at Fashion Week or things like that, but nothing that has any true kind of meaning at this point.
Try to use this other mic too.
Yeah, the other mic's
Test.
We'll do this from now on. Thanks, guys. Yeah, no, Elena, I completely agree. There's actually a company called Ministry Supply. I'm not sure if you heard of them. They just opened one of their stores here in Lord Pack Heights. And what they do is they use phase change material, which are these nanocapsules on the nano level, which regulate your body temperature. And I'm not promoting them, but they make amazing dress attire, which you can bike in. And you don't get sweaty, and you smell terrific. Even though I know it's a priority for everyone. However, going back to really these technological collaborations, I think we said it, a lot of people have tried, and by putting a brand on a product, it doesn't necessarily make it fashionable. Just because we have a fashion line with technology. I think it's like human beings. People are meant to be together for a reason. And we really have to find a place where technology fits with fashion, and fashion fits with technology. So to further that up, this one I'll keep open-ended. Anyone that wants to answer it, let's make this conversational, let's make it fun. What role can both fashion and wearable tech play that can further the goal of mass adoption? What will bring technology and fashion together to the point where everyone has it? I hear it's 10 to 20 years off, but even though it sounds like a big feat, what would be one thing that could help drive it? Would it be on the technological side or on the fashion side?
I think it can be both, and I think it'll actually be earlier than 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So my thesis is that the point at which wearable tech will truly be successful and widely adopted is when it's ambient, when you don't have to think about it, when it's not an accessory. And when you think about becoming ambient, to me that's integration with everyday habits. Well, what is an everyday habit? Wearing clothes, right? And so I think when a lot of these technologies are actually integrated with clothing is when they will truly be ambient, they're coupled with everyday behaviors, and then there has to be that integration between form and function, fashion and tech.
I agree that once we have the technology inside our clothing and we can hang it on the hanger and it charges for the next day, then we will have success. And you don't have to think about plugging it in. Same with accessories, gadgets, but I think we're very close to this.
So is mass production really where we want to take our world? One of the main, I think in my opinion, one of the main downfalls of fashion today is it's fast fashion. And we can get it for $10, $20, it's disposable. We put it into ditches, it ruins our environment. Is that where we want to take the technology world also? Or do we want to make it more exclusive and have people pay for a quality product and keep it for a longer period of time instead of making it so available to everyone?
That's an interesting point. I was thinking about it from an athletic apparel standpoint. So, full disclosure, my background, I started out as a footwear designer back in the day. And so, I come from the performance materials and performance apparel world at North Face. And I think you've got a good example in some of those companies of where it makes sense, right? Because we're in the same place as a technology brand. We have conversations all the time between these four walls of, how retailers actually drive us to iterate maybe faster than we want to. Not that we don't want to iterate, but they're forcing you to do versioning very, very quickly, and that creates waste. And so I think, it's no different in technology or fashion. We're all kind of in the same place today. But at least with, some of the performance apparel companies, it seemed like they finally fused the need to iterate rapidly on technology, and it's cut and sew, so it's cheap iteration, relatively speaking, towards, technological iteration is very expensive, very slow, and very hard. And you can have a whole company and whole infrastructure, organization of, 100 people working on 3 products, like a Fitbit, where there's a lot of energy focused on a really intense set of products. But those same 100 people at an apparel company can create, thousands of garments during the same time frame and do rapid iteration because it's very quick prototyping. So I think prototyping is going to have a lot to do with how we move forward and how we integrate the two.
So we're just going down the line, huh? We should, yeah. Should I be the first one to do that and not talk? So the thing that we see these days, right, is that people are going towards accessories because they can often be a little bit more permanent than a t-shirt that you'll wear out, or things like that. And that seems like a kind of the low-hanging fruit. It's the easier thing to do. And honestly, Misfit has tried. We have a couple t-shirts that we come out with, and we try to do custom things with it. And fabrics and all that kind of stuff are freaking hard. They are really, really difficult. And someone might say, oh, hardware is hard and technology is hard. It's the exact same thing. It's a different skill set. And until you can actually figure out how to put the two of those together, you're going to have a really difficult time.
I'm keeping this time. It's mine. So we've seen a lot of collaborations. For example, speaking of Fitbit and Tory Burch. And a lot of these collaborations have been driven mostly towards females. So I think technology, it can be fashionable for men and for women. So in this day and age where we have a lot of different tech companies and a lot of fashion iconic brands out there, how do we truly design products that are fashionable for men and women? And do we feel like the right step is to be fashionable towards women and make it an everyday accessory? Or is there a different approach to making sure fashion is adopted by men and making the ability for this technology to be functional, have a great form factor, and be cool? which are two different priorities for men and women.
Maybe you will work that. We have to share. Yeah, the other mics work.
Okay. So, as a woman, I want, if I wear something, you know, like wearable technology, I want it to be as functional as the man's. I'm not looking for color change or, you know, decorations. I want functionality, and I think the main thing I want to tell tech companies is that you need to work, if you're doing something like that, you need to work with a fashion designer from day one. Before you even, you know, like start doing testing or anything, you need to work together from day one, because those two are going to be intertwined. So, you know, I see a lot of companies making the mistake of developing the technology and then trying to put it into something and then reconfiguring it, where I think that, you know, the main thing you have to do is just work with a designer from the beginning. Wait, what else did you say about men? Oh, so I think a lot of the focus that, you know, like I've heard about a lot of the focus going like tech companies trying to focus on women because they think they have a higher buying power than men, which is not necessarily true. Women buy more things that are trendy, and they keep rebuying them. Men buy things that are of quality, that they keep for a longer period of time, which I found out through my business as well. So both of those markets, don't single out the men, because they are the ones who will buy a quality product that they want to last for a really long time, and they will spend more money.
The thing for us, a lot of what you're saying is like the Fitbit Tory Burch thing, where a company will come out with a product and make it black or gray, and then they'll slap pink on it or slap some gold on it and say, oh, this is the version for women. And exactly. So I mean, that's the key challenge, is that it has to be designed from the ground up to be either unisex or really keeping everyone in mind. And that's one of the great challenges that we always have day to day. I'm sure, you know, everyone does in our kind of space, where you don't want to eliminate half of your customer base or over half of your customer base.
I think what you have too is a reaction mechanism at work with, you know, for a long time these products weren't being designed around women, many products weren't. And so now we're kind of, it's inevitable that that conversation is going to shift, and I think we've just seen that shift happen. So now, if anything, it's about coming back to center, so neither side gets sacrificed. But, you know, the inevitability of it is definitely a question. I mean, even with our new product that we're sort of debuting tonight, we admittedly started with a female perspective in mind, because there are a lot more use cases and wearability styles that had to be factored in there, versus guys are easy. You know, throwing a t-shirt and a denim jacket, and you're out the door. It was no big deal. And so we started with the hardest use case first, but not so much from a perspective of, you know, shrink it and pink it, because we female have more buying power. I mean, that's really just a statistic that gets thrown around all the time that doesn't mean enough, or it's not meaningful.
I love hearing that perspective. I believe that one of the reasons why women are late adopters to technology is because technology is oftentimes made by men for men. And I think having women and their perspective at the forefront earlier on in the design phase will help the company to ultimately reach a much broader audience.
Thank you. No, very well put. And I think that's really important. Now, switching it up and going towards wearables.
Yeah. There was one more thing I wanted to say.
Sure, Greg.
On the subject, because I happen to be really passionate about this one. You know, I was involved with Chris Bangle about, I guess, 6 years ago, doing a design workshop, and there was something interesting that came up during the middle of the discussions, which was, you know, design has primarily held a Western perspective for as long as we can remember. ID is basically a Western invention. The way that it's practiced, the way that it's taught, from a product design and innovation standpoint. And he was just speaking relative to the car industry, going, well, you know, the car industry is sort of in the same boat, whether you're even Kia or Hyundai, like you're actually being run by a German designer at the head and then teaching other people the same values. So what you have at the end of the day, even though you have a great deal of diversity, you don't have as much diversity because we'll never know. Had the automotive industry started in South Africa or anywhere else in the globe, it would look completely different. So from a technology standpoint and a gender standpoint, it's the same thing. If technology had started with a female perspective first, we probably wouldn't be anywhere like where we are now. And so, those diversities of perspectives have to come into play and have to start to in the next, 50 years as we look at the practice of product development and innovation. There's no other way if we really want to be diverse.
Okay, thanks, Greg. So, as for wearables, we've heard a lot about it. Every single year at CES, they say, it's the year of the wearable. Well, at least for the last 3 years, okay? And now originally it was the machine to machine, then the Internet of Things. What could be next? However, I think the year of the wearable is coming up. And this is because of Apple. So how will the Apple Watch affect the world of wearables?
Well, is that fashion?
I'm not sure. And what should they do?
I think it's another gadget. I hate to say it, but I like that it can pair with fashion, and I'm excited about that. And I'm excited for them to get the biometrics going, because I guess they're not going to be ready this time, because I want to pair with those as well. But, yeah.
I'm excited to wear it to the office and
nowhere else?
Maybe to the office where I'm like working, and then where else? I wouldn't wear it if I'm going out with my girlfriend's night on the town dress, and then like it looks like the jail bracelet, like that they put on your leg.
Hey, I'm on the same page with you, okay?
It has to be more. Yeah, like it's not gonna work for all aspects of my life. I'm very excited for it. I can't wait. March 9th, right?
That's right.
But I think it's gonna, for women, it's only gonna be useful in some aspects of our life, but not all.
Okay, so Craig, I don't want to cut you off, but this is a really interesting point. So the Apple Watch might not actually be the wearable, which makes it the year of the wearable. So moving forward, what is the product we're looking for? Is it actually a wearable? And if so, what do you predict it will be?
I need like 5 minutes.
I think that was for Greg, right? Yeah. That was a heavy hitter,
oh boy.
okay?
Yeah. Let's see. Pass now. I mean, it's difficult to answer because the watch had such an early, the watch and the wristband had such an early, leg up on every other form factor. It's the most well-developed, most well thought out, thousands of years of timekeeping from a sundial on your wrist to, Swiss watch movements and things. So,
A phone, not a watch. People nowadays are so attached to their phones that I would feel weird if there was a watch on my hand, I feel like, I think it has to be something else. Like, quit with the heart rate monitors, quit with all of that stuff. It's been done over and over again. Make something for, if you're doing the whole woman thing, make something for me that takes me less time to get ready. Or, can I throw something in the hamper without thinking about, the label and how I have to wash it or something like that. But I don't think it's the year of the wearables just yet. Even with the Apple Watch.
I think the wearables will be when we actually integrate electronics into the clothing, embedding it, and we're working on it now, making everything washable, flexible, and durable. But I think once we have that more pervasive, that'll be the wearable year.
So I am pretty excited about the Apple Watch. I think it offers a lot. In addition to providing biometrics, it offers yet another interface for real-time feedback, and one that's easily accessible. For me, my phone is usually buried in my purse. And for our products, we pride ourselves on providing real-time, actionable feedback. So when you slouch, it vibrates. The sensor does to remind you to straighten up. Well, what if when you slouch, the screen on your watch actually goes from green to red? Or there's little real-time notifications saying, wow, you haven't stood up in over an hour. You've been sitting. Why don't you stand up? Or, hey, here's some really quick stretches that you can do, right? That real estate on the wrist is really valuable, and history has shown it. And what's exciting to us is because we focus on the core of the body, it allows us to have another display area where we can take data we're collecting from the core of the body and transmit it to the wrist where it's a lot easier to access.
Okay, Tim, so I'm going to throw you a question. And this ties to Lumo, Misfit, a few other companies. Let's talk about interface, okay? Really, user design, the user experience. So many features have moved away from the wearable and onto the app side. And I know I heard Sunny Vu talk, and he said we could have made more features, or we could have made really cool wearable bling. And he said, let's make bling. So what's the future experience for wearables as more functionality moves from the actual device to the application side?
Yeah, and I think the question can also say, where is the application side? Is it on your wrist or is it still on your phone? And for the time being, it's still on your phone. The way that we look at wearables is that we want to provide you useful information and not necessarily be the gatekeeper for how you see that information. And ambiently tracking lots of different kinds of information has a certain level of value. If you can solve battery life issues and make sure that it's always tracking, it's always providing you this information that, let's be honest, that's the reason you bought the thing in the first place, unless you wanted to show off that you're healthy or that you have good posture or something like that. The interface on the phone is going to be there for quite some time, I think. There's no good substitute for that yet. There might be.
Yeah. And really going back to the technology limitations, everyone wants to make it smaller. They want to make it faster. I know a lot of people with the Apple Watch, and I'm not in disagreement that it might not be the year of the wearable because of it. However, battery life will be there. As we make it smaller, we'll have to charge it longer. Everyone wants a perfect optimized battery. So such as sensors and batteries, what are some other limitations that's going to hold back wearable tech in the future from becoming truly fashionable?
I mean, everything that we deal with, there's some soft kind of demos out there, I guess I should say. Everything that we make and that we incorporate is a hard piece of plastic or metal. And unless you're doing accessories which have, affordances for that kind of thing, making wearable clothing is an incredibly difficult thing to do, because at some point you're going to need a little wart on it that holds all of the extra electronics and gizmos and whatnot. And once that goes away, that becomes really interesting, but it's really hard to make that go away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't develop textiles for a living, but it is a very difficult question. Whether it's quantum computing or biological computing or processors are embedded in thread, like we're a ways away from that. It seems like it definitely seems like the power seems to be one of the biggest things holding it back. Both adoption, having to charge all the time is a reason to stop doing it after a while. You kind of get sick of having to charge things. And certainly, I think the miniaturization question. I think everybody's really obsessed, even myself, and some of the products we develop, whether miniaturization is the thing we're all chasing. And I don't know that it is. If you find the right use case, if you find the right design, the right, sort of user experience, miniaturization doesn't have to be, your silver bullet that's going to take care of it. But obviously, it will help in the future because then it gives designers more flexibility to do whatever they want.
I think functionality over miniaturization. Sorry for my pronunciation. Can you make a device that measures my blood pressure and measures my intake of vitamins and that goes just further beyond just like doing heart rates and things that other devices can do. And then the whole nanotechnology, it will be at least 20 years for that to happen. But what do we do until then? Do we focus on wearable technology, or do we focus on technology that makes more sense than just anything wearable? I really want one of those pins I always flaunt.
I've heard questions.
It's okay. But going off health tracking, so I remember I was at CES last year, and Shaquille O'Neal, very fashionable guy, he was talking to the CEO of Qualcomm, and he said, I love wearables. Everyone in my family has a Fitbit. But the one problem I have, it doesn't fit on my wrist. So what he actually did was he bought a Fitbit, he bought a second Fitbit, he cut it in half, he glued it together, put it on his wrist, and he said, you know what? I can now compete. And he was competing against the rest of his family. However, since it took him so long to make his Fitbit, his youngest child, who was 4 years old, was beating him every single day. And said, hey Dad, I'm a better athlete. So, moving towards those younger generations, how do we make more attractive wearables and fashion tech that goes beyond just tracking health and biosensing?
Make it fun, more expressive, like superhero wear. I'm really into animating yourself instead of hiding your technology, but making the designs more exciting and amplifying your personality, as well as the technology amplifying your personality.
I think that, like I've said before, like working with a working with a technological designer, like a tech designer, and integrating the designs to where they not only look like, just like color change and putting like little, stones on it, making it more functional for the body and more comfortable, putting it into the lining. There's so many different things that you can do with wearables that have not been done before. They don't have to be outside. They can be on the inside. Nobody has to see them, or they can be on the outside and still look really cool, which I haven't really seen. So
I was surprised no one brought up personalization. Just, we all do it. All the companies talk about, mass customization models and how to make that appealing, but even then, I don't think it's enough. The demographic in question that we need to drive adoption towards really doesn't get it yet. They're not interested. We do a lot of surveys with our demographic, which is 18 to 28, and on the low end, we really want to know what those guys want from our products, from a headphone product, from a speaker platform, and we asked them about wearables in many different circumstances, and there was kind of like a quizzical look, like, why would I want that? Why do I want to track my health? I'm in high school, or I'm in early college, and I'm really not exercising. So unless you're performing at that age, and now that data, it's not relevant to you. But that will be the market in 5 years, so how do we convince them they need this technology?
Yeah, not only like, most of the wearable technology that exists out there, athletes can use it, people who work out can use it. What am I going to use it for? And when I'm working, I don't want something to talk to me. I want to listen to my music. Yeah, like your idea where your watch can tell you, oh, you've been standing up too long, like do some movement. I could use that, But aside from the athletic industry, like what else can you guys bring to the table where I can use it in my daily life?
I think with regards to kids, gaming, and it could be a really fun application with wearable tech. Get them moving, get them having fun, get them manipulating the avatar on the screen based on what they're doing with their bodies.
I think that'd be really cool too. I want to do it right now. So for the very last question, and then we're going to open it to Q&A, what is your favorite form factor for a wearable? Forrester back in 2014, a really long time ago, they did a big study. Where do people want to wear their wearable? And they found out that actually not the wrist, but a clip where you could wear it on your body was the most attractive, and people would actually wear it most often. So, without further ado, what is your favorite form factor for your wearable?
Well, my biased answer is a clip, because that's what we have for limo lift. But my unbiased answer, and I made this clear earlier, is I really think it is integration with apparel. I think technology is most successful when it's invisible. You should not even know that it's there. And whether it's integrated into our buttons or into, you know, the yarns of our clothing through conductive threads, in our inseams, whatever, like that's my favorite form factor. It hasn't really come to fruition yet, but I believe strongly that integration with apparel is the next big move or big step for wearables to truly be a mass consumer play.
I agree with integration. My favorite form factor is a big collar, which you'll see very soon. All my stuff has big collars that glow or inflate or something.
It's like me and shoulders.
Yeah.
I also agree, and I think, you know, not technological designers, technical designers, which a lot of fashion designers have the ability to do, you know. A lot of smart and like very innovative ones have the ability to do. You don't have to put it outside, you know. There's ways to put it inside. That's why you have to work together from the beginning, because what I would need from you is the tech pack. What fabric does it work with? What fabric does it burn through, you know? And then it can be made invisible so that when I am going out with my girlfriends, I don't have to wear this huge watch. It can be inside. So I think, you know, your guys' idea is the same for me.
I think I like my wearables dumb. You know, I'm still a guy wearing a watch. I put my Fitbit, I put my fuel band in a drawer. After about, 2 weeks, it was like, well, yeah, but I have to wear two things all the time because I'm not going to give up my watches. I love my watch collection. I know I'm not alone, but I like analog things still, even though I love data and I'm a tech nerd. The other one would be headphones. It's a very old-fashioned, emotionally powerful experience, but there's not a lot of smart headphones out there right now that do anything other than heart rate. But headphone purpose, so I'm obviously biased. But as a wearable, the headphone for me is definitely my favorite platform. It just makes sense, and it delivers such an experience that isn't about data. It's raw. It's just emotional, and that's the only reason for its being.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's the right tool for the job. So we really think that if it's headphones, if you want to listen to music, it's going to have to be on your head and around your ear, pretty much. I mean, that is wearable technology that can be fashionable, especially if we're here. But we believe that when the technology isn't free, when it isn't disposable, which it probably never should be, it needs to be as applicable as possible to a variety of different kinds of activities. And so that's why we believe you should be able to put it on your wrist if you want. You should be able to put it on your, in your pocket if you want, or on your shoe if you want. And that's, as long as we fit in the lifestyle, that's where we want to be. It doesn't really matter where we are.
Okay, now we're gonna have about 10 minutes. We're gonna open the floor for Q&A, and then after that we'll have our fantastic fashion show. So, are there any takers?
So Greg, I think you started to allude to it, but I don't know if you elaborated further, is the notion of emotions. So one of the things I was hoping from the panel was the topic of cognitive science and effective computing. So to your points, it's really not about the physiological data, it's about how do you convert that to emotions. So for example, we're working with a huge jewelry company to associate and correlate your emotional milestones in your life with the physiological data and then of course the social media. So you got basically a lifetime snapshot of what's important to you. So talk to me about effective computing, especially in Misfit, and how you guys are turning data into something that's meaningful, because ultimately, to Greg's point, we wear things and buy things because it means something to us.
Testing, yeah. All right, this one works. I mean, the thing for us is, so what makes it useful? Well, you have to design for a use case. You have to say, okay, we know that people are looking for this. We know that people are looking to improve their posture, and let's design for that. If you just redisplay this information to people, it's not terribly useful. It's a feel-good graph. You get to see what you're looking at or what you've done on a graph. But until we can give you useful insights or prompt you to do something, if you're buying it for physical activity, we can prompt you to do that. You know, the best application is something that gets you to actually get out and do something. It doesn't matter what the science is behind it, unless it actually gets you to improve your life.
No, I think that men are more emotionally attached to their possessions than women are. Like my husband, like he never lets me throw away anything. He's like, you're throwing away my things. I'm like, it's time for them to go. For me, it's not like, for me, I don't get emotionally attached to an object. And I don't know, is that how it is for you guys? I don't get emotionally attached to an object. So something with a technology with emotion sensors wouldn't do anything for me.
I think with the materials and the design, you can make it emotionally durable. So you actually want to wear it, touch it. It's like a soft teddy bear, perhaps. That you want to tell your stories to. That's my theory.
Okay, so Marc Jacobs came out with an article like this week saying, fashion is over, fashion is saturated, and Lee also came up with the same theory that she's.
Use the microphone.
All right, sorry. So Marc Jacobs had an article the other day saying, fashion is over. Everyone started looking similar. And Lee Edelcourt is also a trend forecaster out of Europe, second that motion, and said, oh yeah, everything in fashion is just becoming just too similar, and she said that fashion is over. So how is wearable tech gonna be able to catch up with that theory, or is wearable tech a fad? Because today we talk about wearable tech, but there's different categories of wearable tech, from smart fabrics to sensory to 3D printing to virtual reality. But I think the majority of the consumers are actually not buying into it. So is it a fad?
Let's try that. There we go. I guess one would be, how many times have people said that about music? You know, like, you think music is dead and then someone reinvents a new genre or starts resampling and creates hip-hop.
Music is something you listen to.
Agreed, it's emotional. It's not a business model. It is ultimately a business model, and you have to ship products, different type of product. But, you know, I think once something is dead, it just means the incarnation you know of, you know it as, is dead, and it's time for change.
Everything becomes a fad at one point. Fashion just has this life cycle of 6 months. It's crazy, or sometimes even less, which is insane, because I don't feel like a product should go out of style that quick. If it has quality, it's gonna last for much longer than that and not become a fad, which people, you know, in any industry should think about. Don't think about making the most money from what you're doing. Think about the long-term effect that you're going to have in history or on this planet.
I think for wearable tech to not be a fad, it needs to go from being a novelty to a necessity. And that means it has to have enduring value. It has to give you a reason for continuing to use it. And the reasons may differ across different use cases, different form factors, different products. But it's got to have that enduring value and relevance for the person, you know, not only in day one and week one, but on a continued manner.
Great, last question.
I just think because I'm over 50 and here's a lot of things with health, with vision, with hearing, with everything. I think you have to more think about people over 50 because they will use it for a long time if it will be wearable and it will be technology, if it will be useful, if it will help me. Like I can see well and something will show, tell me like 2 meters and it will be full. You know, you can use it somehow. For health and for like people, blind person swimming, and he can hit somebody. So his swimsuit or some monitor which tell him that here is something object you have to move. So here is a lot of things. I think it's a lot of good things and it's a big future.
Okay, well, we've talked about wearable tech and fashion. Now let's see some. Loic, you'd like to come up and talk about our fashion show.
All right, thank you very much. Please applause. Big applause for our panels. All right, so let's start with Manisha. You're gonna have some things to show us. You're going far away from the speaker. Good job. Good idea. Good idea.
So this is really just a recap of things that I've shared with you along the way. So Lumo Body Tech, our vision is to give the body a voice. And next slide, please. We recently introduced Lumo Lift to the market. We are closing the gap where technology meets fashion. More than 50%, actually 50% of our users are women, which we're very proud of. One of the reasons we've been able to do that is our design is very customizable. We have little squares as in different colors, as well as these designs with Swarovski crystals. We even do corporate versions where you can put the logo on the actual sensor. And this is one, we can keep going. This is one version. This is what I'm wearing now. So the white part is the sensor. It's on the back side of the clip and it magnetically attaches. So the part that you see is the magnetic clip on the outside and on the underside is the magnetic sensor that does all the tracking. Next slide. So I mentioned we also did a partnership using Swarovski crystals, and so we offer a variety of designs. These are a few of them. And what we take pride in is that we don't create products, we create personalized experiences. And we do that on both the product and the hardware, product and the software side. So next slide. So on the hardware side, we offer customizability to suit a variety of fashion tastes. It's very interchangeable. And next slide. We also offer a lot of personalization on the software side. So providing real-time actionable feedback that's relevant to you based on your goals, not only along the lines of maintaining good posture, but also maintaining certain levels of activities, activity levels, steps, calories, and distance. Next slide. So I'll just wrap up. I wanted to keep it very short to say that, you know, I think this is an awesome topic. Loic, congratulations to you for bringing it out. I think the more discussions there are about how can technology and fashion work more closely together, it's just going to help the industry as a whole and ultimately serve consumers very well.
Thank you, Manisha.
Okay. So
Are you ready? Are you ready?